This article is exactly why men need MGTOW at this point in Western history. It proves false the feminine rhetoric of the last 50 years, and it also shows that men are seen as second-class citizens. There's so much wrong with this article, I don't know where to begin. Let's just start by reading it. A good man is hard to find, especially in this economy. The country is facing a crisis of broke dudes, according to new research from Cornell University, and it's left successful ladies single and disgruntled. Define successful. I know many women who have massive debts and college degrees but are stuck with menial service jobs. Let's face it, according to the bell curve distribution of IQ, women are just not as capable as men. Therefore, it is safe to conclude that only a small percentage of working women are quote-unquote successful. The other 90 to 95% just think they are. In the study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family, Cornell sociologists explored America's declining marriage rate. They discovered a lack of financially eligible bachelors. Do you see a trend that all these studies conducted by sociologists have a pro-female bias? Where's the study that asks men the preferences that they seek in women? Oh, that's right. It's because we live in a matriarchy where men are expendable and who are seen as a utility for women's needs. There are shortages of economically attractive men, lead study author Daniel T. Lichter tells the Post. No, there is a shortage of decent, polite, family-oriented, virtuous women. Although we like to think marriage is based on love, he says it's also fundamentally an economic transaction, and women want partners whom they call their equals. Lichter, who has been studying marriage for 30 years, says the gig economy and the lack of good jobs have contributed to the dearth of well-to-do dudes. So has the fact that women are outpacing men educationally, upending the age-old dominance of the male breadwinner over the past 5 to 10 years. Here's where the article begins to pull the mask off of feminism. What Dr. Lichter admits to here is what red-pilled gender realists have been claiming for a while. Women want men for their resources. Feminism and the mainstream have been attempting to deny this for years. Girl power, remember? Women don't need men to take care of them, right? Well, this article says differently. Moreover, if I was a feminist, I wouldn't be boasting that women are dominating universities right now, since it is a debt black hole and the majority of degrees are as worthless as the credibility of baby boomers at this point. Now, it's the case that more highly educated women are marrying down, says Lichter. Men have to get with the program. Wow. Single New Yorker Gina Thibodeau has some theories of her own about the fella famine. I find generally that dudes these days just do less across the board, says the nurse practitioner. Their parents have coddled them and taken care of them, and they just don't go out there and make more money. Wow. The audacity of this woman is immeasurable. She's projecting her and many modern women's shortcomings onto men. Modern men have their problems, sure. However, women are unable to realize their selfishness and their inability to sacrifice for a family. Gina, how about you become a more humble and virtuous person before claiming that men are at fault for your horrible dating life? The 38-year-old Upper East Sider stresses that she's not looking for anything outrageous, safety and security as far as finances go, but she's still coming up empty on dates. And the truth emerges. Jeannie here is 38. She's eschewed finding a man in her early 20s when she was more desirable so she could have a career. Now she is looking to society to help her find a man. Well, Gina, you've made your bed. Now you have to go sleep in it. Oh, and I thought women didn't need a man for safety and security. She says it's because the men she goes out with don't feel the innate push to succeed that she does. I think for years they've always just taken their role in society for granted, and I think that they're just getting lazy culturally, she says. Morgan Jordan, a staff administrator at a South Carolina school, says she's also struggling to find a partner on her level. Yeah, another successful woman, a staff administrator. Oh, that sounds empowering. I don't even consider myself all that successful. I just make a living wage and I'm comfortable, says the 32-year-old who lives in upstate South Carolina and recently paid off her student loans. But the majority of guys she meets can't say the same. Most men that I encounter, they're really underemployed and they can't seem to make a living themselves, she says, adding that many are wildly in debt and intimidated by her stability. You can tell that some men really want to be the more traditional breadwinner, says Jordan. Interesting that this Jordan girl said what she said, since the Dr. Lichter study and this article is blatantly saying the exact opposite. Women want men to be the primary breadwinner. And this brings us to the second feminist platitude that this article inadvertently debunks: the wage gap. If women are truly being paid 70 cents per every dollar that a man earns, then why is this article needed? Because it blatantly says in this article that women are making more than men. Moreover, this brings me to another point that the article doesn't address. Corporations as well as the government want women to enter the workforce because it increases the labor pool, which diminishes wages, and it creates a larger tax base. Also, it allows kids to be indoctrinated in public schools because women are too busy with their jobs to stay at home with the kids. Because of the diminishing wages, men are suffering. Moreover, women tend to get some jobs over men because today's society encourages businesses to hire women and rebukes those who have more men on staff. So, I ask a pertinent question for feminists out there listening. How is this men's fault? When women are ignoble, selfish, and entitled, and when wages are low and jobs have been taken by women and illegals, what incentive do we have to bust our ass? Boston single Jake Rivas gets where they're coming from. My prospective partner's income is something I consider, says the 28-year-old who works as a staff caregiver at a group home. Being on the lower end myself only serves to feed insecurity. Graduate student Isaac Suarez says he's not turned off by a woman who means business, but he has found that his relationship tends to last longer when he makes a similar amount as his partner. I have dated women with money, and full-time professional women tend to be busier, and it's more difficult to find time to spend together, says the 26-year-old who lives in Portland, Oregon. Thibodeau says she knows it's not necessarily a guy's fault if he's struggling financially. Still, given the circumstances, she's had to devise a plan B for her future. If Mr. Right doesn't come along soon, she may just shack up with some lady friends at her professional level. Maybe in a few years we'll move in together, she says. They're successful and I like them. Well, good for you, Gina. Have fun being childless and living like a girl in her early 20s with roommates. To the detractors of MGTOW, this is why we are going our own way. In a monarchy in which we live, men are told to cater to women no matter what. This article, which should be a piece outlining the barriers that men face, it instead is presented as a women's problem. Feminism has worked for over 100 years to usurp the safe and productive patriarchy we once had for this chaotic, upside-down matriarchy that exists today, which has bequeathed upon women everything they have asked for, but they don't like the outcome. So now they're going to blame men for what it was their fault in the first place. If a man would write an article about the shortcomings of modern women and men's desires for women to be homemakers and mothers, he'd be the next victim of cancel culture. This is why we are going our own way. Those who criticize the movement never consider this.